Nothing screams red flag and commitment issues more than a man in their 40s and 50s that has never had children, never had any kids, and never been married. I want to ask him, like, what have you been doing, boo? What have you been doing with your life? I get prioritizing yourself, but did you take it a little too far? Because now you're in your 40s and 50s and you've never been married and you have no kids. I'm confused. The math ain't mathin'. The red flags are flying. I don't understand. I don't understand, because there's nothing to me. There's nothing sexier than a man that's a good dad, or even a pappy for that matter. Okay, little salt and pepper pappy. Okay, I'm here for it. I know y'all are going to come at me in the comments, and it's okay. It's okay. I still love you. You got some explaining to do, because what have you been doing this whole time? Like 40, 50-year-old men, no marriage, no kids. Screams commitment issues to me. I mean, I still love you. Still love you. But you might want to be rethinking those life decisions right about now.
I think that the sentiment for a lot of women is that men are supposed to prioritize the things that they prioritize. But then it kind of screams hypocritical, right? Because I see women, for example, a lot of times say, I'm not interested in talking to a man that have kids. I actually did a review video on that yesterday. She said, I'm not interested in a man that has kids. The minute that I see that he has kids, I'm turned off by it. Now, I didn't object from it because she didn't have kids. And I said, okay, well, it's okay for her to actually have preferences, because why would she have to settle? And that doesn't mean that she's going to get what she said that she wants, but if she has a preference for a man with no kids because she wants to either have children of her own with a man that doesn't have children, or she just doesn't prefer to have kids at all, if she wants to celebrate life and live a life without children, then I have no problem with that whatsoever. But then you'll have a woman that say, hey, if it's a man in his 40s and he doesn't already have kids and he's never been married, then he's a red flag. Now, to be honest and objective, I think that could be a red flag for women that are looking to settle down, because it seems like this man is not interested in that, and he's had a whole 40 years plus on this earth. And so if you go into it thinking that you're going to be the only one, chances is you probably won't, or you're going to have to really compete for his affection, because he's a hot commodity on the marketplace. And that's not to say that guys that have kids or has a kid or is divorced with a kid doesn't also have some clout, especially if you are successful in life. But the reality is that he is hot on the marketplace, and women do want to be selfish, and they don't often at times want to be step parents to somebody else's children. And so, it could be perceived as a red flag for women, because a red flag is just something that you have to take into consideration that is not necessarily going to manifest or work out in your favor if you have a specific objective to get married to a man and then have children by him. And again, that doesn't mean that it can't or it won't happen, but I just think that women have to be realistic with their options and possibilities, especially if you have children. But it then makes it hypocritical a lot of times, because you'll hear women say, well, where are all of the good men at? Or where's this? Or where's that? And personal responsibility and ownership. Maybe he just focused more on his career. Maybe he was focused more on continuing to, level up and become the best version of himself. Maybe he was just being responsible and decided that he didn't want to have children out of wedlock. And because he hasn't found or looked for a wife yet, then that means that he's actually being patient instead of jumping the gun and doing something that he's not supposed to do. Because again, I don't believe that people should have children out of wedlock. I think that puts the child at a disadvantage, and we have the statistics to then back that up. But if a woman is saying, well, he's a red flag because he doesn't have any children and because he's not married or he's never been married, that to me just screams a responsible adult. If I see a woman that says that she doesn't have children and she pretty much focused on traveling or living life or continuing to live up in corporate America, well, I could say on one hand, well, no, a woman's purpose is to have children and stuff like that. But on the other hand, I can't call her irresponsible. I don't think that every woman's purpose is the same. But I can't sit there and call her irresponsible, because the real irresponsible ones, and the ones that I hold accountable the most, are the women that have children out of wedlock or decide to break up their family from the person that they knew who they were and what they were going to do, but then they sat there and act like they didn't understand what was going on. And so now we have to hold them accountable because they picked a man to have a child by, but it's not necessarily conducive for their life. In this instance, I don't look at these guys as a red flag. I don't. And I know that a lot of women do look at them as a red flag because they have never met this type of guy in the wild. And they already don't even think that there's really any good men out here. And some of the men that they think is good is probably gay. And so when you see somebody that does not have children already, you look at it as a red flag. I don't think that you should look at it as a red flag. I think you should look at it as an opportunity. I think that you should respect that person, because there's never been a greater thing than a man that respects himself, focuses on his grind, dedicate himself, don't have children out of wedlock, and is being a cultural successful example for what other people are supposed to be. All right, but let's play the other side of it and let's evaluate that side, right? Let's say, for example, that he has 3 children and he's divorced and he's working 2 jobs to take care of business or whatever. Would y'all also deem that a red flag? And another reason that I think that a lot of women are saying this, and I've seen this on a couple of different videos also, is that women are now trying to date outside of their age range. There are a lot of women that are acting like, hey, listen, I'm well put together. My filters is popping. My makeup is on. You can't really tell my age unless you look at my neck or my elbows. And I always like to link back to the content creator. So that link will be in the description. Make sure you guys tap into the Patreon link is in the description, as well as pinned to the top of the chat. But, they think that they are competing with these younger girls, and they're not. And so you see a lot of women, or here's the other one, they do have children, and so they're trying to find somebody that more closely resembles what their family dynamic or outlook is. And so when they see a guy that doesn't have children, a lot of times they then will call them a red flag, because I'm guessing that they think that they're unattainable. And so they're trying to understand what's going on in their life and what decisions that they make. And were they just very intentional, taking care of business, which they're not going to relieve you anyway? Or was you just a player and you decided that you didn't want to commit and you got commitment issues? I don't think that a guy that decides not to have children out of wedlock is having commitment issues. I think that he's responsible. I think that he's taking care of business. They should be celebrated. They should be applauded. And while every woman is out here kicking men's ass, saying that, oh man, why you leave your family? The one thing that we should be celebrating is guys that's taking care of business for themselves while not having any self-inflicted wounds. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Let me know if you agree with it or you disagree with me. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace.